Hello, family. So as we meet here in this sacred ceremony, we cast out all judgment. We cast out all fear, cast out all trickery, all illusion, all deceit. As we arrive at the center point of the wisdom of the heart, and we allow this to open wide here and now, to be one in union with our God, with our source, with our creator, with our universe. So it is. There's an important initiation that's occurring for many of us here and now. The rise of the priest, the rise of the mage, the rise of the sage, the rise of the wizard, the rise of the titan, the rise of the Nord, of the Norn, the rise of the goddess, the rise of the priestess. Many of us have been chosen to walk the new path that's opening up for us here and now. This initiation, by far, has been the strongest initiation that I've ever gone through. It's asking us to abandon all battle and all war, to abandon the hatred, to abandon the resentment, and to abandon the guilt. And this message right now is a little bit personal, but also a little bit collective, just in case anyone else is going through this right now. I was sitting here reflecting on what's going on in my own reality, and I heard Leviticus 7:3. And I'm not a Bible man. Typically I'm not. But this aspect of me is. And it was talking about, essentially, I don't know the passage, right? But it was essentially talking about how the priests, let's just go into what my interpretation was, because I don't know how it's interpreted in the Bible. I read it once and was like, I need to talk about this. But it was basically talking about sacrificing guilt. Okay? I don't like the word sacrifice. I really don't. There's been a lot of that coming up with this aspect that's being embodied in the pathway that I'm moving through. Sacrifice and martyrdom. But the conscious choice to dissolve all guilt has been really affecting my physical body and affecting my stamina. And as a result, as there's kind of multiple aspects that are being embodied and being moved through right now, it's having an effect. And of course, while this is unfolding in my own life, there's pockets of distortion and miasma that are building up, that are coming out, and that are clearing from the landscape. This rite of passage that we are moving through right now, with the initiations and the rise into those kingdoms, pathways, are teaching us how to choose love in every now moment, how to choose the heart, and how to choose a new path from that which we've walked before. Right now is a big time of balance, which means that some of us are paying off our karma right now. While I'm not one who consciously believes in karma anymore, and and really try not to, seems to be prevalent in the dissolution, prevalent in what is occurring, and how an acceleration into the rise of these aspects requires a grand purification. Meeting at the halls of justice to weigh the scales and to dissolve, right? Another layer of purification of the heart space, and by no means an easy feat. While we are deconstructing the old from ourselves, we really have to be mindful, including myself. What are we constructing? And it's a reminder that thoughts become things. Thoughts become things. And every thought that I produce and every word that I speak creates architecture. This architecture might not be seen here and now, but it is built up, right? In the astrals. And as a result, we can call forward experiences for ourselves. Navigating this level of awakening and opening up the initiate's path requires us to be bold and brave and courageous in all that we do. Essentially, for myself, it is the pathway of Wizard of Oz. Where can the lion find courage? Here and now. How can you remember that he's bold, brave, and beautiful, and love? And it seems that on this path, while I know, because I hold a deep knowing within, a deep connection, it seems that there's a layer of veil that arrives to see if I can push through and break through. And while I walk through the transition point or the initiation, how can I consciously remember in every now moment? And while the grief and the suppressed anger and the suppressed emotion, the guilt, the shame, comes up, in what ways can I shift it out? When the electrical energy kicks up and we start to embody and receive back the masculine within ourselves and our own lives, the reception of the masculine energy that carries the distortion has to be moved out. Okay. So for myself, I found that yesterday I was just super electrified. And if I sit in the electricity, okay, if I sit in that electrical energy, it can turn into all-out chaos and destruction. And so for myself, it's been now getting the body moving. Yesterday I went for a run for the first time in a long time, and I was doing push-ups and trying to get the body back in shape to move this stuff out. And it helped a lot. It helped a lot. The electrical force of the winds of current of change that are occurring in our own lives is requiring us to move out the energy, to move it, move it, move it. Get through it, push through it. Break down, break open, break through, break down, break open, break through. How can we shift this out in our own lives? This is the question point for you and your reality, right? What works for you? So for me, sometimes it's to soften, to go into the feminine energy. It's, to be creative, to be expansive and expressive. And then sometimes when the charge of this masculine energy comes forward and through and it clicks on, it's time to access the primality of me in order to embrace fully all that I am. And it's an important thing in the activation sequence. And I feel like a lot of people at times, when the rise of the primality or the archaic aspects of us comes up, really old, like old magic, old ancestry, right, comes forward, I know for myself there's a lot of times I push that away because it's a part of me that I've never embodied. and it can feel savage, it can feel brutal, it can feel distorted, right? But a part of the reception of these aspects is requiring us to move through it gently, or because the word coming through is pragmatically, but I don't know what pragmatic means. So what's another word that I can use? Interesting. Mary, what was it? Can I get that again, please? There's some disgusting storylines that are coming up. Okay, so I want to play on this a little bit. There's some really disgusting storylines that are coming up to clear in our own lives. And these aspects of us that are coming forward right now, especially in the ancients, okay, I've been through some stuff, and there's been some really savage and archaic stuff that has occurred with these aspects. And so the requirement of moving through those disgusting storylines requires us to be able to step forward and through in a way that can see it, perceive it, witness it for what it is, not attached to it, but also be able to move out the storyline, right? The conscious choice of love in every now moment. That is how we are able to clear out the passageway and reverse all of the polarity out of that passageway, so we can return back to sovereign love and sovereign truth. Okay. So what does it take for you, right? So this is the question point, all right? What would it take for me to be able to shift this out today? What would it take for me to be able to return this piece of me to love? What would it take for me to remember that all exists as love in the universal law? What would it take for me to recognize that the game of polarity and the game of duality doesn't have to be mine to play anymore? That it is built, set up as a game with divisive measures and divisive notions, and that is the way it is. And I'm hearing that's just the way it is. Some things will never be the same. When we wake up to the game, we don't have to play the game. We don't. We can choose the middle path. We can choose the gray. The initiate recognizes, okay? The initiate recognizes that the dualistic construct exists. But a part of us choosing our pathway and choosing our destiny is recognizing it doesn't need to play the game. It can exit the game. While there's great strategy in the game and we can learn the strategy over and over and over, a part of this recognition is that we don't have to play. The way we don't play is by accessing the 0 point, the center point awareness, and beginning to co-create as love with our higher self aspects, right? It's a recognition that at every twist and turn of the game lies a new point of awareness and a new point of mystery that gets unlocked within all of us. And a part of that codex being unlocked within us is that it's going to require something of the initiate to access that codex, okay? So when we see that there has to be a give and take in the accessing of the mystery, okay, in the game. Now, we're speaking of the mysteries of the game, okay? We're not speaking of mysteries of other things, because there are mysteries that we can unveil within our own lives and within our own DNA that require no sacrifice, that require no give and take. But when we are working with these aspects, there has to be a give and take. And this is where we start to play into the disgusting and brutal storylines of sacrifice, where one to appease the gods would give blood, where one to appease the gods would give self. This is where we see the reemergence of the martyr. This is where we see the emergence of the sacrificial lamb. And as these things are up for review, recognize where that which we can access from within requires nothing of self to give or to belong. The being state of you as the divine sovereign is the only thing. You do not have to give up anything of you. The one thing though, okay, this is interesting. The one thing that we do have to give up is identity. It's identity. Why do we give up identity? Why do we give up the identity? Why do we give up the identity? The identity itself is what holds on. The identity itself is what creates the limitations for us to be able to access more. Now more. Let's go into more. More is tricky. The process of the word more and finding more and discovering more entails that we lack at some level and don't have enough here and now. The search for more, the quest for more, can lead to an obsession. It can lead to defining ourselves as less than. Defining ourselves as not having that which we already are here and now. The codes are held in the DNA. And that which is seeking to search outside of you is actually playing as a witness of God to assist you in remembering that that which you need to know is already held within you. Soul records, higher self, the DNA. So a part of this is to remember that that which pulls you externally to receive is actually helping you to remember in the long game that all is held within you here and now. And we don't need to go outside for answers. We can go within. It's a part of reestablishing the connection and harmonizing that which is the soul and the higher self here and now. And that, my friends, is why it's important to stay within. Why stay within? Right? When we go within and we expand on what that which the soul holds through integration and remembrance of the DNA, the crystalline capes of creation, so on and so forth, it creates an expansion in our universe in order to access more. When we begin to dissolve all the emotional layers that separate us from creator, creation, all of those things, what happens is we begin to gain greater access and clarity to that which we are, which creates more expansion. We dissolve a veil, an illusion that we have built in our own realities. Fear, judgment, scarcity, all of those other things. And as we dissolve the judgments, we allow in more light, and we allow in a multidimensional expression and expansion of all that we are. So it's important that as we're going through these initiations to remember that we're unlocking another level. But it always seems to return back to this very simple fundamental concept. Always, in always. That which is love produces different results than that which is fear. Fear constructs. Think of that word, construct, constructs. We can say construct or constructs. Think about fear constructs and what they construct in our own reality. It builds limitations. That affects our own individual lives as well as it affects the collective trajectories. Love constructs, okay, will construct realms of love for us to play in that are shared, unified in the collective. That which we hold within is shared, unified. This is what we call the collective consciousness. So as the collective consciousness itself begins to remember its place as a cog in the machine, okay, in the constructs that we build, we recognize that when that our own reality weaves into the collective, and as that weaves into the collective, it affects the collective, it affects the whole, it affects the one. So it's important for us to sustain and resolve and dissolve all judgment of where we are in our constructs and where we are in our holographic realities and where we are in our own universe, correct? But it does all weave, and it all does perceive that which it holds within. The perception of everything external of us is a reflection of everything that we hold within. So it's recognizing today, what are we holding? while we are dismantling, okay, it doesn't mean all of a sudden that, oh no, I'm feeling an emotion that isn't love, and now I need to just go into love and start to punish ourselves for having a feeling that which isn't love. That's not the case. What we're doing is we're making sure that our intentions for our creation in every now moment are serving in the reflection of love. It's the transmission and the reflection of that. That's where we begin to harmonize with a reality that is going to be more sustainable for ourselves. Yes, pain still occurs. We are not guaranteed a pain-free reality because we go into spirituality. The divine is still allowing us to have a human experience, which means that we are going to go through tests, initiations, emotions that don't feel so beautiful, loving, and kind. We will encounter, see, witness things that go on in the collective reality and our own individual reality that aren't so loving and kind. But this is the choice point there, right? Is we can recognize and learn to not take that things so seriously, right? To recognize that this temporary reality that we exist in does have an effect quantumly on universal trajectories, other star systems, galaxies, and other realms. But we also can learn that this is a temporary focused situation that we're all in. And as a result, when we return back to the eternal, infinite presence of ourselves, that it's in itself can have an effect on the experience that we are going through here and now. So a part of this initiation is to recognize within ourselves, all right, the eternal I am, and resonating with that, staying connected to that source consciousness, staying connected to our God and to our Creator, and becoming a minstrel of our own universe and our own creation requires us to make conscious choice in every now moment of that which we speak, breathe, and believe. Now, conscious choice doesn't mean don't have fun. Doesn't mean don't joke around. It doesn't mean don't be witty and be humorous. And it doesn't mean that all of a sudden we need to refrain from that which is X, Y, or Z, right? You put your framework on it. A part of the experience of the human expression is that we can gift ourselves an opportunity to be able to enjoy the fruits of our labors in this reality. We can enjoy. We have an opportunity here and now, living on this earth realm, to be able to have access to things like food, things like wealth, things like friends, things like sensations of the body. And a part of the sensory experience is that we can enjoy the senses. We can enjoy the feeling. And the broadcasting of all of these feelings into our reality, it serves a purpose, you know. We have all these senses to access and all these feelings and emotions. It's like, what a great buffet that we have access to. Now, the thing is the conscious choice of the meal, that which we eat, and the conscious choice of the recipe that we build in the soup. Okay. I've been getting a lot of things about spiritual soup and how we are recognizing the elemental makeups that create our alchemy, right? And moving through the passageways of as we are creating something, working through all of our alchemy. And this is the process of magic. And as a result, every element has an effect on the mind and on the body. And as a result, it has an effect on where we're at in our processing and what we need to do to be able to move out certain energies that we are embodying. This is where we also begin to recognize that our environment plays a part in the alchemical role. So for myself, moving through this passageway of so much fire, is now asking that I now get closer to the element of water as I allow that alchemy itself to resonate within my soul, because I need it, right? The element of fire has assisted in purifying and in stripping away so many different things, but as a result, it does take an effect on my biochemistry and on my biofeedback. And so now accessing that element of water is going to provide a new level of nurturing and a new level of nurturing that the soil of the soul needs for growth. So recognize within all of ourselves and all of our being that while the human condition is temporary and temporal, there's a infinite and eternal part of us that is existing here and now, and remembering what it is to be eternal in a temporal realm. And a part of that can feel confusing for some of us, especially when the human itself created storylines, right? The human itself created storylines, and it's been playing out the storylines for eons of time. And as a result, we're here trying to remember that we don't need to play a story. But we're here projected into reality where storylines exist. And this is where we go, aha, creator consciousness, magnum opus. How do I create that piece of art within myself that constructs this beautiful reality that I can enjoy here and now? And then one day I can look back in the eternal I am and go, I'm grateful for that opportunity to be able to create that magnum opus for myself. And what is it that you want to create? Do you want to create a tragedy? Do you want to create a comedy? Do you want to create a fairy tale? That's entirely up to you. For myself, I believe in fairy tales. I love believing in fairy tales. As a kid, I watched Disney movies and I was just in awe with things like Peter Pan, right? And the Lost Boys, right? Well, a part of this now is that the Lost Boys have been found. They're discovering who they are within, and this is a part of that initiation, is that there are the lost ones and the fallen ones that are coming back into rising over remembering who they are. Now, the remembrance point in this is to remember that fallen and lost one within you that's coming forward here and now is love, okay? It's love. And I'm gonna keep beating this into my own cellular body with love and respect and kindness. And I want to share that with you, is that you are love. You are light. Don't let the story tell you differently. Don't let others tell you differently. Don't let the judgments and the imaginations of others that don't fully know try to tell you that you aren't. You're love. You're love. You're love. Even if the parts of you don't feel unloved, don't feel loving, okay, let's say that. They don't feel loving, or they don't feel beautiful, I'm here to remind you that it is, right? And when we see it for what it is, when we see it for its power and go, I honor you. I honor you as God. I honor you as source. I honor you as infinite creation because I see your power. I see your power and I honor it. I see your light. I see your life. I see your love. We give it a moment and opportunity to be seen what it is as divine. And when we see it as divine and recognize it as divine, we build a respect to that aspect as the divine. And we now begin to build a bridge or a communication point to that which we were resisting for so long, because it needs to be here and now, because it holds something for ourselves. Not everyone is going to have access to these initiation points, right? But myself and others that are being initiated into this need to remember what it is to be love, right? What it is to be free of the judgment, shame, blame, and guilt of the storylines. What it is to be this eternal I am presence through this aspect, integrated with the whole, integrated in the now as the I am, and allowing that to be. These fractals are big and beautiful and bright and loving, and they deserve to be here. This is the universal integration and the universal expansion through the recognition of this. We expand infinitely throughout all creation here and now, and we love all that which we are. This is law of one. I am here. I am love. And I will stand as that, and I will recognize that within all that I see, because everything is just God playing its role, teaching me, showing me the wisdom of the elders and the wisdom of the sages and mages that came before me. And with that, I will respect it and honor it, and so it is. Okay. So anyways, I love you guys. A little update. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. I don't have a title, but let's keep having fun, right? If you're feeling this right now, I want to let you know I love you, and I'm sending out prayers to you. Prayers of love, prayers of serenity, prayers of peace, prayers of joy. But the only way that we can honor each other is we have to honor ourselves and honor our process. And the sooner we learn to honor our process and honor ourselves, the better acquainted we can to be able to honor others and honor their process as well. It's a part of practicing the remembrance dance. As within, so without, as above, so below. That's the way the energy flows. I love you guys. Much love and respect to all of you out there, and I will see you sometime. Ciao.